Hello, everybody, and welcome to kops Office Hours. Today is a very auspicious Friday, September 13th, 2019. I am your host, moderator, facilitator, Justin Santa Barbara. I work at Google. Reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be put on the internet, and please be mindful, therefore, of our code of conduct, which boils down to being a good person. I have pasted a link to the agenda in the group chat. Please feel free to add your name, as I am doing myself, to the attendee list. And if you do have items you want to talk about, please feel free to add them to the agenda at the sort of appropriate place, and so that we can be sure we get to them. Otherwise, we can dive right in. First up, Ryan asks, this feels like a general question, but Ryan asks, who is going to KubeCon, and should we plan a meetup?
Is Ryan even here? I don't think so.
He's at KubeCon already. He's that keen.
Yeah.
It's a little early, but yes. Yeah, it would be great to have a meetup. I have not finalized my personal plans yet, but yeah, it's always great to see everyone when we're there, and sounds like some people have definitely said yes. Mike and Peter, it sounds like you guys have already committed.
Yep.
Wonderful.
And I will also be at the Contributor Summit. I don't know if you signed up for that, Peter, or anyone else. Cool.
That's great. And it is in sunny San Diego in mid-November, just before Thanksgiving. So for anyone that is wavering, that could be, maybe that is the deciding factor. If there's nothing else, next up, Mike, you raised, you drew our attention to an Etsy debug.
Yeah, I spotted this on Twitter, I think yesterday actually, that someone was just like, hey, by the way, everyone should be aware of this. And so basically, it's a bug with the Etsy v3 client. Again, I didn't necessarily dive in too deep to see where we were susceptible. I just really wanted to call it out. It's a gRPC dependency upgrade is required for it. They did not backport this from 1.16, so it will not be available in 1.15 or earlier. The weird part about it is they're basically like, here's the way you go patch it yourself, but I don't know many people that are actually building their own Kubernetes generally. I mean, I'm sure some people do, but not everyone. So I just wanted to call it out there. Personally, I'm not that stressed out about it. I don't think we've hit it. And as Justin pointed out, we probably are getting away with it just fine because we use it on localhost. But
yeah, thank you for drawing attention to that. I don't know whether we should ask in more detail on the issue if anyone's actually I believe we only target each API is ever going to localhost. And I don't know whether anyone has explicitly confirmed on an issue that this only affects like multiples, or whether it's just like a reconnect bug, but maybe we could try to find out the right place to ask. But yeah, I'm certainly not keen on, we recently had this come up in conformance where like there is a distinction between a Kubernetes distro and a Kubernetes installer, and a distro must fork Kubernetes, whereas an installer does not fork Kubernetes. So we are an installer, a proud installer, and not a distro. But if we did this, that would be one of those naughty distros instead. So, you know,
right.
I would rather backport it in Kubernetes land, like in KK, rather than like maintaining our own. It seems silly for us to maintain our own for a relatively small patch, but if we hit it, should be backported.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think it's also just valuable. Maybe we should think of the right way to document, you know, as Kubernetes operators and best practice providers, and, you know, being kops, this is something to be aware of. Currently, our team, you know, we haven't necessarily taken a stance on this, but, you know, if people are running into this, then we can talk about how, I don't know, this also kind of helps push people that, you know, it's important to keep your clusters upgraded, you know, and if you're not going to be running a managed service provider, if you're managing them yourselves, you know, you lose out on a lot by not staying up to date. So.
Yes. And we have a related topic of the last of the sort of release planning, but yeah, this is definitely 116. 116 is not even out yet, right?
Right. They've cut an RC, another RC today.
Yeah, this is a little unusual to not backport this, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it is a fairly big bump. So yes, it would be about like the trade-off between the consequence of the update. But yes, I think in general, that is what you said is great. And we should better understand why they didn't backport it. I suspect it's because most people are not running this, even people that are running etcd-HA are not running this style of HA.
Right, and it looked like there were, there's probably some discussions offline that weren't captured in issues, but yeah. So anyway, just thought I'd call that out.
Thank you. That's an interesting one. Oh, I didn't mean to preempt you on the conformance. Sorry.
No. Yeah, so we got a scary message in our issues, just basically being like, by the way, as soon as 114 is cut, or 116 is cut, the CNCF is no longer doing conformance verification on 113 and up. We are not 113, at that time we weren't 113 compliant, or, you know, conformant. So I ran the conformance on 113, 114 beta, and 115 alpha. 113 and 114 are approved, so we're now conformant. 115 is still waiting on their approval, but you know, I don't think there'll be a problem. And as Justin mentioned, then the discussion came up. They were asking us, are we an installer or are we a distribution? And I was like, I got a little defensive at first, and I was like, we're everything. We're a distribution. We're, you know, and then I messaged Justin and kind of tried to call his attention to it. And I was prepared to talk about it today, and I thought, you know, we could kind of discuss. But what it really came down to is the definition of what those things are. And they decided to clarify that a distribution is, in theory, forking and modifying the code. So we definitely don't do that and want to avoid that. So that's good. We are officially an installer. And yeah, so I now that we did this, I was going to come up with a way to make sure we document this as a, you know, release procedure, you know, maybe in the alpha and beta time before, you know, it's just nice to have it done before we come out with our major versions. So the right spot to capture that. But yeah, we're now conformant again. Woohoo!
Thank you for doing that. And did you say you did 114 as well or not?
Yeah, I did 114 and 115.
That's wonderful. 115, and they accepted 115?
Not yet, but they accepted a previous alpha of ours. I looked back in the history and they accepted one a while ago. So
okay, that's sort of what I was wondering, is like, it's a little, yeah, like, can we just, yeah, well, okay. Like, how early can we do it?
I know. We'll see.
It'd be interesting to see whether we can qualify against an unreleased version of Kubernetes. That would be, that would really be pushing it.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, thank you for doing that.
116 branch now, Justin. I mean, might as well.
Do what?
We could cut the 116 branch now and give it a shot. We're conforming against Kubernetes 116.
I was just thinking, like, the minute 117, like the first whatever weekly build comes out, we can like be well ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
But yes, presumably because the first one, not a lot will have broken in 117, so that'll be great. Okay, thank you so much for doing that. And yeah, it's really great that you did 114 beta on that note as well, because then we like can say, I like the idea of doing it at the beta timeframe. That's a good, like, or like last beta timeframe. That's a good like sanity check.
Yeah, and my thinking was, if they don't approve this from my alpha of 115, I'll redo it for the beta, you know, just so that we're, I agree, it should be beta, but I just figured since I was in a role, I would do it.
Sounds great. Okay, and so the last item that is currently on the agenda, unless anyone wants to add anything, is we are doing this idea where we sort of discuss the releases that we are going to try to achieve in the next sprint or 2 weeks. And the ones I have put on there, and others are feel free to add, and feel free, like the intent here is to gather any information on blockers or any feedback. You're like, yes, I've tried it and it didn't work, or yes, I've tried it and it did work. So I think we might be ready for 1.14.0, the stable release. I don't know if anyone has tried it and had any experiences either way, but I think it's...
We haven't had any problems. We've tested a bit of stuff with it. Today I was going through the cherry picks and making sure everything was up to date there. I added just a couple things like, a flag, and someone wanted a new region added for GovCloud. Some of those things that are kind of like best, if we can get them in, that would be great. So a couple cherry picks are open, but if anyone has a strong disagreement that those are too, that it's too late for those, feel free. I have no personal commitment to that. But I think, personally, 1.14 is probably pretty ready.
Yeah, I can confirm, guys, we are running. By the way, I work for product board, and we are already running, staging in production. No major issues.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Probably all the things is that CoreOS support it's broken at the moment because of Calico. How the flex volume directory is mounted. So this kind of distros like CoreOS, Flatcar, and so on are not supported at the moment. So just to let you know.
Okay, that's interesting.
I have a PR, but I'm kind of stuck there because I'm not sure which is the best way to approach these things in Calico. The other things works, is just Calico, which is broken.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any other. I presume you're the person therefore that's sending the Flatcar PRs. Thank you.
Yeah. Because we would like to have it in production. So I'm trying to make this happen. We ran for a very long time with the Debian, but yeah, now we want to switch.
Well, thank you. If you have a work in progress PR, feel free to upload it and write work in progress, even if it's just I'm stuck here, and then we can it is a nice way to gather people to look at the problem in a sort of very concrete way. I don't know off the top of my head if we have any add-ons, I guess we'd call them, that reference a non-constant directory.
I tried to look at it. I didn't find anything.
So we might have to template. We might have to add another function that gives the correct location in this, because we do it for for example, I think API server has a bunch of directories that change locations on different OSs. It would be great to, in kube controller manager, for this exact reason, some of them are writable and some of them are not. It would be great to find directories that work everywhere, but we haven't found them yet. So, but yes, thank you for that information. And yeah, please do put up that PR and
it's already there. A PR, it's just waiting for some feedback.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to find it.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys.
So it sounds like 1.14.0. I guess we should have a look at the PR. Look at with PR around Calico. Can't spell today. I'll fix it later. Calico CoreOS directory issue. And then, but other than that, are people generally happy? Oh, and then some of the a few cherry picks that might explain that. And other than that, are people okay? Happy? Great. 1.16.0 Alpha 1, I think I'm continuing to try to push on that. It would be great to get it out before 1.16 lands. We're taking it to the wire, but the blocker there is I figured out a way to do enough labels that we could sort of get going, but we do need a controller. The labels on the master nodes, which have to be done anyway for bootstrapping purposes, are now done by Protocube. We have to do it that way because of sort of circular dependency otherwise, but then we do want to have a controller that can continue to apply labels in a consistent way. or consistent with how we've done previously, and also consistent with where we want the future to be in terms of security. So that is the last, I think that's the last big blocker for the alpha. And yes, there is a work in progress PR, but it was a bit of a mess. So I need to basically clean that up. I don't know who wrote 115.0 beta 1. I think that was Mike.
Yeah, that was me. I just figured I would put it on the list.
Yes, I don't know if we want to, but I certainly think we can advance 115 at the same time. Yeah, we probably should do a beta when we cut the alpha, when we cut 114, we should like bump the other two. I think that makes sense.
That's what I mean. Yep.
Yeah, and it's basically a statement that features are now going to go into the 116 release rather than going into the 115 release. We got the Force 111, Kops 111, I should write greater than equal to 111, 41 panics, into the alpha channel. And so this is about basically bringing everyone up to, I guess, a certain bar of still not even supported, but at least like relatively recent kops and Kubernetes. And once we've done this, we can sort of see how it goes and see what sort of pops up, and hopefully like start to encourage people onto newer versions. Although 111 is fairly old, but I mean 4 releases is, I don't, we can certainly support a couple more than 3 releases in terms of this force behavior, but we should like look at some sort of software warning. But at least getting people a little bit more newer, a little bit more up to date would be great. So
we haven't heard any complaints from anyone yet either.
Well, it's only in the alpha channel, so I imagine the people that are, but yes, exactly. We should probably get it into the stable channel and then listen for the complaints. I know there is someone out there running 1.8, so because I see the downloads, and I really want that person, whoever it is, to upgrade. That would be, because I'm like, that is a little old. Right, because I haven't found out who they are. If that person is listening, please do contact me. I am Justin SB on Slack and various emails on GitHub. But I'd love to know sort of if there's a reason why you're still running 1.8 that we can help with or anything. Looks like we should do an AMI promotion. Was it you, Peter, or Shane that wrote this? We've lost the.
I added that.
Okay. Yeah, so we should put that. Is there a 113 in AMI in the stable channel or not? Anyway, we should definitely.
No, I don't believe so.
We should promote, and then yes, 114 AMI. I think that's a good idea. And then this is releasing. Yes, and we're now doing AMIs from the new repo, which is github.com, Kubernetes SIGs image dash builder. I'm going to paste it. And so I think we got the I thought we got the PR merged images. Oh, yeah, it's in images kube deploy. I will actually link to the subtree. And then we are basically, there are a bunch of these image tools that have arisen over the years, and we are trying to unify them, and we put them into this new subproject under SIG cluster lifecycle. And we are now, someone's formatting my stuff. We are working there, and there are other tools, and we can hopefully like identify some overlap between them all. But I think it's, oh, did I make a typo? No, sorry. Yeah, we can hopefully identify some overlap and get some unified image building, and I'm going to be putting the 114 script in there. And the memberless PR, sorry, Jackson, yes, I need to, sorry, Thomas, I need to, that is a good one. We should get that into, yes. I just haven't had time, but I don't know if anyone else has not had time. But it looks great, and I want to get it in. You're muted. Sorry, Thomas. I don't know if I can unmute you. I presume I
There we go.
cannot.
Sorry, I just started talking and no one can see it. So yeah, I was able to test it. I'm actually running it on 3 of my clusters right now. I'm rolling it out to the rest of them, so it seems fine. The only gotcha that there is today, when you do the rollout, it's like multi-phased. So you basically have to first configure it to do both the primary and secondary, like mesh and member list. Roll it to the masters, roll it to the DNS controller. You don't actually have to roll it to all the nodes. Then you can flip to primary, member list, secondary, mesh on the node, on the masters and the DNS controller. And then you can flip to member list only and primary. You have to do all the nodes, then the masters, then the controller. The thing is, when I do the kops apply or the kops edit and all that stuff, it doesn't update the DNS controller, which is actually good in this case because I don't want to do it at the same time. I don't want to do it when I do the apply. You want to do it after you've gone through some steps. It does update the manifest in the S3 bucket, but it doesn't like apply it. So you actually have to like go to S3, grab the manifest, and then apply it, which seems weird. So I'm not sure why it does that or if that's expected.
The behavior of applying the updates is not great right now, and I actually thought it would apply the minute it was in the S3 bucket. If you comment on the PR, we can certainly look at that. I don't know if there's any way to make the, should we stage the process by default over a couple of kops releases? So for example, should we turn on both by default in 1.16 and then in 1.17 switch to just have member list?
We can, assuming that the DNS controller applies. It doesn't today, so that would mean that like someone would actually have to like look and apply the thing.
Yes, I mean, I think my hope, so it sounds like there's an issue there, which I want to get to the bottom of, but I can't think what it would be right now. But my hope would be that certainly when we do a role of the master and a version bump of the DNS controller, that it would apply that change.
Yeah, so I mean, we could update the defaults. The only concern would be is if someone updates to a newer version of kops but doesn't update the masters or something, which would be weird. So
yeah, well, and we tend to gate the new features on the Kubernetes version. So you have to be running a new version of kops, but then we'll introduce member list. I keep saying member list. Member list for greater than equal to 1.16 Kubernetes. We'll introduce dual, I guess, dual stack, and then at greater than equal to Kubernetes 1.17, we can switch to member list only, and that way. And this would just be the defaults, is what I'm sort of saying. In that, so if you don't do anything,
right,
it's a question.
Yeah, 1.17.
Exactly, but if you want to do it right now, you can also do it by like manually driving through the fields, but we can change the omitted value to be the recommended course or the default course, which is run both in 1.16, run member list only in 1.17.
Yeah, definitely we could do that. Yeah, and I have the steps for doing the upgrade. So I wanted to make sure we sorted out this DNS controller thing first to see if I have to change my steps. But either way, my plan is we'll merge this in with all the code around it, and I'll have a doc that explains how to do the upgrade process.
Thank you. That would be great. Yeah, I'm really surprised like I know that there was some great changes that went in which sort of hashed the manifest so that they should basically pick up everything. We certainly have had problems with this in the past. Ryan did a PR that addressed some of those, but so yeah, it's definitely worth having a look at to understand. That should now be fixed, so it's interesting if you report it as not. But yeah, please do upload the steps and we can figure it out.
Yeah, so that's all in the PR. So I have the steps like high level in the PR, and I explained the DNS controller issue there. So
wonderful. Okay, thank you so much for doing that, and I apologize for not having got to it yet. That was the last item on our agenda. I don't know if anyone else has anything else they would like to bring up.
Hey, Justin.
Hey.
I haven't seen this agenda list, so I just jump in now. But basically, the question, I'm not sure if you guys discussed it yet, is about the 1.16 support from kops. I'm wondering, is there any timeline for it, or has it been planned, or because I tried myself, seems there are some issues need to be fixed.
There are issues, yeah. So this is, in the release plan, we are talking about the 116 alpha 1. This is a little bit of there's an incompatible change in Kubernetes with the labels, and that's what we sort of need this controller for. So it's a little different. Like in theory, like you need the kops 116 to run Kubernetes 116, but in the past, like basically it's always worked. That is not the case today. So I have to get this controller done, or I don't have to. I believe the path is to get this controller done.
Could you give a
sorry, go on.
little detail about which controller needs to be? Is it
Yes.
Kubernetes controllers modified, or like kops has its own controller does?
Actually, so I think technically, I think technically head actually will now work, but doesn't do these labels. So there's these labels that steer traffic, steer pods. And if I recall correctly, they are the node role labels and the kops Kate's IO instance group labels. And the intention is that, or the way this previously worked was that kubelet would set those labels itself on its own node at boot up. That is a potential security issue, because if you escape from a pod and get access to the kubelet credentials, you could change your own node labels and steer traffic towards it. You could say, I'm a master, and you could get like master workloads assigned to you. And so the idea is to prevent nodes from setting any labels that are used to steer traffic. I think actually just like earlier this week, I got a PR in that worked around it partially, in that it now the masters use protocube, a different component to apply their own labels for the master steering, and we've stopped telling kubelet to apply the nodes it can't apply, the labels it can't, node labels that it cannot apply anyway. So I think technically head will now work, but what we have broken is we've broken like anyone relying on the node role other than the master node role or the instance group labels. So to fix that, we need to have a way to apply those labels to the nodes that doesn't rely on kubelet doing it, which is probably going to be more or less has to be a controller that runs on the master that observes the nodes and labels them.
I see.
I added a link to the PR in the chat.
Thank you. And so yes, I have a work in progress PR, which is much bigger and messier than it needs to be, and I am working on basically making that a tolerable merge, because but anyway, this is a controller that will run on the master, and its first functionality will be to start labeling the nodes, but we actually have a bunch of things which we want to start doing in a controller coming up. This is a kubeflow controller, and I did a POC before where we have integration with cluster API. That was a controller. Some of the add-on stuff that we're talking about would probably run as a controller to sort of address some of the issues with S3 buckets and like them being a little bit fuzzy and when they're applied. So it's a great step that we're sort of being forced into, and it is unfortunate, but that is, I am aware of it and I am trying to get it going. I'm just looking at how bad the PR is at the moment. It's not terrible at the moment. I definitely need to rebase it. But yeah, I don't know. I can probably get it rebased today, and then we can start attacking it. But it is, the hardest bit is the we have to map from an instance, from an AWS or GCE or OpenStack or whatever instance to understand the labels that should be applied. And so in other words, the central controller has to figure out what labels should be applied. And so that's sort of the nastiest bit of the code. We have to like use the AWS tags to map to an instance group, for example. And we assume that the AWS tags are secure. or that like someone that has compromised the AWS tags is already can already do anything they want to anyway.
Gotcha, cool, pretty exciting. Looking forward for the PR to be merged.
Okay, I'll work on it. Thank you. But yeah, no, it's a good question. Thank you for bringing it up. It's it was annoying that it was a breaking change, but it is in Kubernetes. But it is it will drive a great big step forward for kops, I think, if we can get this going.
Cool, thanks.
Oh, more on the Peter. A couple more items on the agenda. Mike, you added something about.
Yeah, so Peter opened a PR today to add himself as a reviewer. Peter's been around for a couple of years. I didn't merge it in, but I figured if anyone has any objections, which I doubt they would, I think it's much deserved, and feel free to go and take a look at the PR.
Thank you.
Of course.
Definitely much deserved. I did not know you were not yet a reviewer.
Better late than never.
We will address that. So
and for those unaware, there's membership requirements in the community repo for Kubernetes. So if you as just kind of as a background for anyone watching or anyone here that doesn't know, basically once you are an org member of Kubernetes, which is really helpful when you've done a couple contributions and we kind of trust you, you talk to one of us that are already a member. I think you need 2 people to support you, and then you can join the Kubernetes org. And then you don't need us to approve your tests. So whenever you make a new PR, you don't have to do get someone to do OK to test. And then if you're interested in working your way up and getting more involved, the next level up is really reviewer, which means you automatically get tagged on to review PRs. And it really helps a lot of us take a look at the ones that have already been looked at to really say this is ready for approval. So it's kind of the first line of defense. And for over the years, we've had reviewers, and then a lot of us that were reviewers became approvers. And so it's nice to have that first tier to kind of sort through oh, you just need to rerun your tests, or you need to also run this other thing. So it's really crucial for us, and it's awesome to get more people involved. Yeah, if you ever have any questions or whatnot, feel free to message me at MikeSplain. I'm happy to help and support people getting more involved. And my last note on this, anyone can really review PRs once you're an org member. And so that's actually to become a reviewer, you need to start reviewing. So the main way that we track that is you go through some PRs, you comment on some code, and then when it's ready, you can assign it to yourself, and then you do /LGTM. And once you start doing that on, I don't remember what the number of PRs is, it's probably 20 or something, then we can talk about promoting you into reviewer. So sorry for the monologue, but just thought I'd do the that sales pitch. We love more people is always helpful. So thank you.
Yes, seconded. Thank you, Mike. I actually already approved that. So Peter, I think you are now an approver or reviewer. I'm sorry. There is another item on the agenda. I don't know who wrote this, but there's a report in kops development from Jesse saying that there may be, or he has observed a problem with gossip DNS, at least in OpenStack 115 alpha 0, 115.0 alpha 1. I added that as a blocker to cutting 115 beta 1. I thought I had tested this, so I don't know, but I have not tested on OpenStack. I am not sure what the delta would be. He refers to some changes I made, which I am not sure what they are. So I'm not quite sure what. Okay, that's odd. He says also that, oh, it's in master. Okay. This could be, okay, I understand. All right, so this is in master, but not in 115. It looks like, looking at the issue. I will leave it as a blocker, just in case it's something else. Maybe that, but it would certainly be a blocker for 116 alpha 0, alpha 116.0 alpha 1. My guess is oh no, I don't know what that would be. I'm not sure what that is. So yes, it is a blocker for 116.0 alpha 1. That is why we do this collaboratively. So thank you to whoever bubbled up that issue, and thank you to Jesse. We have again reached the end of our agenda. I don't know if anyone else wants to bring up anything. All right. Well, in that case, I wish everyone a very happy Friday and weekend, and see everybody in 2 weeks. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Everyone, take care, everyone.